MegaHerzzz. You're listening to MegaHerzzz on 4ZZZ.
You're listening to MegaHerzzz on 4ZZZ. My name is Charlotte. My pronouns are she, they.
My name is Sisi. My pronouns are she, her.
And my name is Sarah, and I'll take they, them for 500, please.
Amazing. Start off with an acknowledgement of country. I would just like to acknowledge the Turrabul and the Jaggera people on whose lands we are living, recording, creating on, broadcasting on. And we'd just like to acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging. We've got a good show for us today. We're going to talk a little bit about the Olympic decision to ban trans women from the Olympics. We've got some few events for you all to share, and a little bit more information for tomorrow is Trans Day of Visibility. So got a bit of news for that one. But we have a commitment on this show to report on the femicide that happens in Australia using reporting from Sherele Moody. You can follow her work on Instagram and on her website. But we're going to do that straight up on the show today. I would just like to say, if any of the following is triggering for you or anything like that, please reach out to 1-800-RESPECT. They have 24/7 counselling. Their number is 1-800-737-732. And if you're just needing to take care of yourself for the next couple minutes, just tune out and we'll be reporting on that one. I'll go over to you, Sarah.
So a 39-year-old man was charged today with murder, dangerous driving, occasioning death, and failing to stop and assist after vehicle impact causing death, and 2 counts each of predatory driving and reckless, furious or dangerous driving, which resulted in the death of a 36-year-old woman in Clinton, New South Wales. So that is according to Sherele Moody's Femicide Watch. She is the 16th woman killed in 2026. Shocking, and just was really something that we've noticed here is how many of these reports involve dangerous driving and reckless predatory driving is one I hadn't
heard that one before.
but makes a lot of sense. So many men using vehicles as a weapon. And it's not something that I think is being paid much attention, or I don't see any inquests about this, but I see it a lot in the news. So please, do take care of yourselves. And if you need to call the hotline, can you give us that number again?
Yes, I can. The number.
I have it.
Thank you.
1-800-737-732. And also, there's a text service, which I think we never talk about, but it can be really hard to talk to somebody. So if you feel more comfortable, and also something I want to say is also that we talk here about the most extreme form of violence against women, femicide. But if you're experiencing any form of domestic violence, coercive control, anything that makes you feel unsafe as a woman, please text or call, and the text line is 0458 737 732. You are supported, you have community, and
you can also talk to 1-800-RESPECT about other people that you're seeing, and if you don't know what to do, or if you don't know what to say and all that kind of stuff, they're 24/7. You can talk to them about anything related to domestic and family violence. So
and like Sisi said, we do talk about the most extreme of these cases, but they don't just happen out of nowhere. And particularly with that kind of dangerous driving, that is one of the really common signs of of coercive control, of
it's
weaponized anger,
intimidation, and threats. It's like anything to make someone feel unsafe, basically.
And it is so normalised as well. The road rage is just kind of guys do that.
Yeah, guys speed, guys do it. Yeah, but it's pretty scary, and not something that should be normalised as much as it is, I think.
But you have support. There's people out there that you can talk to about it, and you're not alone, dear listener. If you are feeling like any of these things sound familiar to you, you can talk to somebody, no matter how extreme it feels to you. If it doesn't feel like it's a big deal, just talk to somebody.
Just because it's common doesn't mean that it's that it's normal. It doesn't mean that it's acceptable.
Absolutely.
1-800-737-732.
Yep. Unfortunately, in the past week, I think we've had some updates on the situation at Victoria Park to do with the Olympics.
Yes, they have officially announced that the new stadium built for 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games will be in Victoria Park and will be situated in a central position near Gilchrist Avenue. So they're going to build a 63,000 seat arena.
Wow. That's big.
If only we had a 50,000 seat arena that needed some doing up in this city.
Yeah.
Apparently they're going to knock it down. So what they're going to do is they're going to, well, according to ABC News, so what they're going to do is they are going to build a new one in Victoria Park, and then after the Olympics they're going to knock down the
Suncorp?
the
Gabba?
The Gabba, thank you. I'm like the Wacker.
The other one?
They're
knocking it down. Wow.
Yeah, they're going to knock it down.
Stupid.
That's crazy.
Oh my gosh. Sorry guys, but the little journalism student in me, this was my project a few years ago when they were going to do it to the Gabba, and when they were going to completely remove Kangaroo Point
school
Park,
and
the park, use the park as a running track, which is so ridiculous. And it was just so unbelievable. But Jonathan Shree told me a few years ago a really important point that was like, what is going to something I didn't even think about. What is going to be done with all of this scrap metal? What is going to be done in these majorly populated areas where there is so much dust and debris from stadiums getting built? And those are just obvious back of the mind things, not an entire stadium being built in one of the only green spaces in Brisbane in a city. It's unbelievable. We need to see when and where a protest is.
I just also feel like it just feels like such a slap in the face when like housing is so, there's just so many things that are happening that require, I think, a lot of money from at least the Queensland government, and it's just like, oh no, we'll spend it all on we've got all these expenses free for the Olympics, but not to like help people, I don't know, have a house or it's just a bit ridiculous.
And they can live in the stadium.
Yeah, they just live in the stadium
because we're not going to need it after that.
Yeah, exactly, for the 2 weeks that it's on.
And also private space, making a public area private, and also a public area that has recently had so much work into it.
Literally.
Have you guys been down to Victoria Park recently?
Gorgeous.
Yeah, like the like skateway and like bike paths, everything. It's so beautiful and huge. Let's see, are there any protests? I'm looking for a protest. Someone text us in if there's a protest happening here. We'll find it soon, but if you know, message us in. I'm sure our Z listeners are very passionate about this. We have a bit of an Olympic hating theme today.
I know, we're just gonna hate all over the Olympics today, because we're just gonna pivot slightly to, there is basically a new policy that has been announced, I think, in the past week around, this is for like the International Olympics. It's basically a policy, and so this is directly from the Olympics website. They're saying that for all disciplines on the sports program of an event, including the Olympic Games, and for individual and team sports, eligibility for any female category is limited to biological females. And so, are they
going to be testing the men?
Well, it doesn't say. It basically says I think they're only testing the women. So it says eligibility for the female category. For the female category specifically, is to be determined in the first instance by SRY gene screening to detect the absence or presence of the SRY gene. And so this is the sex-determining region Y gene located in the Y chromosome, and it's basically, that's what they're going to be looking for. And what do they say? So they will be doing a saliva cheek swab or blood sample, and it will be literally like a one-off thing. So athletes who screen negative for this gene permanently satisfy this policy's eligibility criteria for competition in the female category. Unless there is a reason to believe that a negative reading is an error, this will be a once-in-a-lifetime test. And so they have like some very specific kind of rare exceptions. They say a diagnosis of complete androgen insensitivity syndrome, or some other rare differences, disorders in sex development who do not benefit from performance-enhancing effects of testosterone. So yeah, basically you get screened once, and if you don't pass, it'll be sorry.
So you could have 2 X chromosomes and pump yourself full of testosterone, and that would be
I guess so.
okay.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. That's the only thing they're testing for. Yeah. Oh, and ironically, they say every athlete must be treated with dignity and respect, and athletes will need to be screened only once in their lifetime.
I wonder if they are going to be providing everybody before their tests with any kind of genetic counselling.
Well, it does say there must be clear education around the process and counselling available.
Counselling available?
But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, because we were saying... What were you saying before? They basically,
well, and because when you at least in Australia, when you undergo any kind of genetic testing, they do genetic counselling, because you just don't know what's going to pop up, because not many people really have a close look at their genes unless there's a specific reason to do that. So they actually did this previously in the Olympics, and they scrapped it in 1999 because, well, according to The Guardian, it was because it was deemed arbitrary, inaccurate, expensive and discriminatory. But people kept finding things that they didn't know about. Yeah. And, it came up with a whole lot of people who had an intersex variation who were unaware because they didn't have physical characteristics of that and just didn't know. And, so...
A lot of people have differences in their chromosomes. Yeah, that if it doesn't have any physical effects, you don't know.
Nothing said here about people who have an intersex variation. So who, are we banning intersex people from?
I mean, that's what it sounds like. It sounds like if there's intersex isn't listed in those, their rare exceptions kind of thing. So I guess they're gonna say sorry, like you're out of luck.
I guess you play on the men's team, that's just everybody who doesn't have XX chromosomes team. Is that what they?
Yeah, maybe they'll develop a third category.
They're not testing that one. So yeah.
And they said so. The policy was basically it's come out of they have a working group on the protection of the female category thing that they've created, and that's reflecting the findings basically. That. What do they say? They're saying, male sex provides a performance advantage. It's just all the transphobic kind of rhetoric that has always been around and is, I think, really around in a specific... I don't know why this is a thing that transphobes are really obsessed with sports, but they're really obsessed with sports and they're really unhappy that...
It's transphobic and generally misogynistic.
Yes, absolutely.
It totally... even for cisgendered women, it's still saying you must be a very specific set of whatever we choose.
Whatever we decide.
We decide is feminine, or else we must protect you from yourselves.
Because there are many biological advantages that Olympians have that they don't care. If you're a woman and you're 6'8" or whatever, they don't care. There's many things that they... It seems very ironic and very, what's the word, against each other kind of thing.
And it's the only time so many men are loud about women's sports is when they're being transphobic. It's I wish you put this much energy into women's sports every day of the year and not just when it's some... pardon me.
There's videos of, people at kind of protests around this kind of thing, and journalists are talking to... people who are protesting, trans women in sports.
Protect women's sports.
Yeah, and they're okay, can you name 3 female athletes? And they can't. They literally can't. They're I don't know, Serena Williams. It's just, it's clearly a thing that they don't actually care about. They just care about being transphobic.
When was the last time you went to a women's sport?
Yeah, are you actually going to watch the women's sports at the Olympics? Probably not. You just are a misogynist. And I think that was really clear as well when there was that whole thing where the chess, the chess committee, I don't know what they're called, but they basically banned trans women from competing in these chess tournaments. And I was like, that is so clearly a misogynistic thing. So it's clearly not, but you're like, men are biologically smarter, so therefore like that's basically what I'm like, I think that is such a clear demonstration that this whole argument is like so completely just misogynistic, transphobic. Like, it doesn't make any sense. How does that benefit anyone? Yeah.
The Olympics needs to work less hard on their transphobic agenda and more hard on picking a more sustainable city to have their Olympic stadium in.
And we had a sub just text in just saying, they just asked if the school is still at the Gabba, and I think yes, the school is there, and I assume maybe are safe now, possibly.
Well, I don't know.
Not if they're rebuilding the stadium.
Don't know. Was not mentioned. Yeah. So not sure what's happening with that. They're going to knock it down around the school, maybe.
Yeah. And also every week from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. on a Wednesday, there is a weekly pop-up on the corner of Bowen Bridge Road and Hurston Road around the Royal Brisbane Women's Hospital and protesting Victoria Park,
that's awesome.
Being the Olympic Stadium in Victoria Park. They say if you're driving past and can't make it, give these legends a honk or a wave.
Beautiful.
So hopefully lots of honks and waves and people showing up this week.
Is it just community organising it? Or
I Save Victoria Park organised it. Yeah. So go there, show up. People power. You can change this.
Yes. And just on, I don't know if we have any listeners. I don't think we do, but if we have any listeners who are a bit, not fully on board with the trans women sports things, like the ABC have listed a systemic review, basically looking at 52 studies, encompassing over 6,000 participants, basically looking at perceived advantages of trans women in sports, and they found that, their physical fitness is comparable, and there's actually no, it's not an evidence-based kind of thing that, anyone is pushing. So just if anyone is, on the fence, it's not evidence-based, and it clearly is just rooted in misogyny and transphobia. Yeah.
Period.
All right. We're going to go into
our friends from pinkNOISE. Let us know about this event that they've got this week, this Thursday. pinkNOISE Easter will be held on Thursday, 2nd of April. It is kicking off I'm just going to read, guys. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not reading. pinkNOISE Easter is your invitation to kick off the Easter long weekend in style. Celebrate the diverse voices of our local queer community, eat some amazing pizza, have a few drinks and relax. We've got your night covered. Presented in partnership with LGBTIQ plus friendly, owned and run venue, The Cave In. Shocker after hearing that first bit. And proudly supported by the Revive Live Fund, pinkNOISE Easter is a free entry gig. pinkNOISE Easter will feature sets from Margaret, Sixth of the Sun, who we just heard, and Emmy Music Hour, a solo project. The Cave In is a wheelchair and disabled friendly venue with access to a handicapable toilet on the ground. Handy-capable toilet on the ground floor. Yay! We love pinkNOISE here at MegaHerzzz.
Yes, I went to the last pinkNOISE gig that was like a Valentine's Day one, and it was just such a cute night. Like, it's such a, like, having free, having it be like a free gig, having it be kind of like, I quite like when it's like a suburban gig, where it's like you can drive there and it's like, it's not all the way in the valley and blah, blah. It's like, super easy to get to.
Good for us Southsiders.
Yeah, good for us Southsiders. And like, there's food, like you can get food there. Like, I don't know.
Free gig so you can spend your money on pizza.
Exactly. Like, I don't know. It's just such a great night out. So... And we're going to talk a little bit about Trans Day of Visibility, because that is tomorrow on the 31st of March. So Trans Day of Visibility, the International Transgender Day of Visibility, it's an annual event dedicated to celebrating transgender people, raising awareness of discrimination and violence, and acknowledging and celebrating contributions to society. There's a lot of different events that kind of go on for this day, and they have a website. You can go to www.tdov.org.au, and it's got kind of like all their history and stuff. At the moment, they're kind of running, their campaign for this year is basically asking transgender, gender diverse, non-binary people, what is your trans vision, which is really beautiful. So throughout early 2000 and 2026, their organisation went to a range of local trans gatherings and asked this question, so what is your trans vision? To share their raw, honest and optimistic dreams for the future. The organisation have then taken these 100 trans visions and hosted a focus group with community members to look at the recurring themes, asking if these are our dreams, what practical steps do we need our allies to take to help get us there? And so they've introduced this thing called the TDOV Pledge. So instead of a one-size-fits-all statement, they're using the insights from their focus group to build a build-your-own pledge engine. They have identified 8 practical actions that directly address the barriers that the trans community have identified, and now it's up to us. So you can head on over to their website and sign the pledge, and I'll just walk you through how to do it. So yeah, it's on the website. You basically say, I pledge to, and then you choose your pledge. There's a few different options. So that, there's like educate those around me, protect trans communities, etc. And then you just pop your name and your email, and that'll go on the pledge. Some of the visions that they've got on the website are really beautiful. So it says like, my trans vision is trans-led decisions. My trans vision is honouring trans history in Australia. Don't let people dictate to you about who you are and what you love. Yeah, I think it's a really lovely kind of hope-filled campaign. I think so much. I think I do love that it is. It is so hope-filled.
Yes. The International Trans Day of Visibility was actually created in 2010.
Oh, wow.
By an advocate, Rachel Crandall, and the reason that she created it was that the overwhelming majority of media stories about transgender people are all focused on violence and negativity and negative outcomes for trans people. So her trans vision was that people would be able to celebrate the lives of transgender
it's really
people.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Not forgetting about the discrimination,
of course,
just making acknowledging that there is discrimination, and acknowledging that not every trans person can or wants to be visible, but acknowledging, making room for those that do and are visible,
Absolutely.
and that for their achievements.
Yeah.
And their lives.
Yay. I just want to give a little shout out to our kind of radio neighbours, Tranzmission. Yeah, they go from, so if you only tune at 1 p.m, you should be tuning, at 12 p.m, you should be tuning earlier at 10, because just before our show is Tranzmission, who, they're a trans-led radio show. They talk about, all and deep dive, they've got 2 hours, so they really deep dive, I think, all these really great kind of issues and perspectives, and they're a really wonderful show.
I think we should declare today Trans Day of Audibility.
Yes, amazing.
Not just visibility, but audible.
Yes.
Thank you,
very
Tranzmission.
audibly trans today, yes.
Next year's theme might be, what's your transmission?
Yes. And then it's all focused on the best radio show. Second to MegaHerzzz.
Yes, thank you to all the work they do across there in our neighbouring studio. And also Bess always blows me away as well. Very regular guest on transmissions. Always so informed, always so interesting and thoughtful in the way, and as well, of course, in the way that they present information. We're so lucky to have such devoted and incredible people as a part of this station.
Absolutely.
So show your trans community some love and make a pledge tomorrow and every day.
Make a pledge tomorrow, today. So www.tdov.org.au. But you can also just Google Trans Day of Visibility and it comes up. But we'll go back and make our pledges after this, I think. Yeah.
And another thing we have happening in our community tomorrow, Trans Justice Mianjin are planning on unveiling the world's largest trans flag on Trans Day of Visibility tomorrow. And they are unveiling that flag at 3 p.m. That, I have seen some of the work across the socials. That is a big feat to make the world's largest
Do we
trans
know how
flag.
big it is?
Yeah, they said how big it needs to be.
Maybe it's going to get revealed tomorrow.
Well, I think it's done already.
Yeah.
So they also say that there's a concert with Clover Love Love and Worm Girls tomorrow in
Beautiful.
Davies Park at 3 p.m.
Gorgeous.
So show up. It's going to be such an awesome event. That's so cool. And thank you to our friends Jody and Winter at Trans Justice Mianjin for reaching out for and letting us know about this.
They're a fantastic organisation
Yes,
as well. They
they
do
are.
so much great stuff.
Yes.
Sissy, we have a reveal.
We
How
do have a
big
reveal.
Is the flag
The
gonna be?
flag is a whopping 20 by 40 meters. That is
It's really big.
huge. Or 80 square meters.
That's quite
That
large.
is very large.
I'm not sure where they're going to put it.
Yeah. I'm wondering, like, is that going into? Is that
Who's
getting
got it now?
stored in
Where is the
someone's
flag
room?
right
That's
now?
a very big box, or hanging from an Olympic stadium, maybe.
How do you fold something like that? Like, have you
Hope for
tried
the
folding
best.
bed sheets? Is pretty
Yeah.
pretty hard. Imagine folding a 20 by 40 meter
Crazy.
flag.
Well,
I'm
hopefully it
imagining-
never gets folded. It's in a
Hopefully. It's gonna
constant
be
state
out.
of flying.
I'm saying I'm picturing it right now, folded up in some share house living room, taking up the whole thing. Like where is the flag right now? That's what I want to know.
I'm
Text in.
wondering how long it took them to actually sew the flag.
Hours and hours,
It was,
sure.
Oh, they've said. I was on the weekend. I was
So long.
sewing curtains, and I sewed about 3 meters of curtains, and it took me hours.
Hours.
Yeah, so
Maybe I'm assuming it was collective as well.
I would hope so.
Yes, they have. I think that they've had a few sewing days. I can see one here. I can see at least like four. No, I can see 4 sewing machines in this frame of a massive table. There was lots of sewing machines and there's lots of fabric.
That's
so
beautiful.
let's hope it.
And 4 sewing machines at once. Oh no, that sounds like I could. How many times did they have to unpick it when they've realised
so
that they've
much.
sewn the wrong ends
Oh, God.
together? And
My gosh.
or maybe they don't sew like I
Yeah.
do.
So we better go. You have to go see it.
Yes,
You have to go
see
see
it.
the flag.
Tomorrow, 3 p.m, Tuesday, 31st of March,
Beautiful.
Davies Park in West End.
Amazing.
We have your itinerary sorted this week.
Yeah.
Then the Wednesday, we have our
I can't remember.
we have our
pinkNOISE.
pinkNOISE is on the
Thursday.
second.
pinkNOISE is Thursday. Thursday, pinkNOISE Easter at the Cave-In.
Haven.
And then what else were we looking?
Swim
It was Barrumbin.
Oh, yes.
Victoria
Protest.
Park.
Yeah.
Go protest 4:30 to 5:30. That's every single Wednesday. So go and show your support there. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, sorted.
For this week.
Yeah, you've got
And
it.
then you've got your long weekend.
Yes.
What a great itinerary,
Yes. And
I think. Yeah.
Good Friday.
Do what you want.
Yeah. Except for drink.
Except for drink. Can't do that.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're going to sign off. You've been listening to MegaHerzzz.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Bye.
Isn't that what feminism is about?